as an experienced landlord, one thing I see which slow down jobs or prevent tenants from moving in is missing the CO inspection. The CO inspection is handled town by town in a totally different manner. So the first thing I would do, whatever town you're investing or doing a rental property in, calling them and asking them if they have a CO checklist and items that they require to get done. I am going to go over every single item that I've seen that have been prevented me, essentially, of getting a CO in time, upsetting tenants that planned on moving in on the day of, or slowing down things as far as getting things on the market, okay? So to do so is getting ahead of this stuff. Getting ahead of giving most of these items to maybe your contractor, or if you want to set it out as a separate, where you have the little knick-knack things here done by a handyman or a retired repair guy. But these are things that are missed. I mean, I'd say these 4 items, first off, I'm going to go over, are going to be missed from a contractor, primarily ones that are doing residential. They're not accustomed to rental COs. Do not assume every contractor is used to doing rental properties, because there's a misconception. You hire a contractor, tool belt, they know what they're doing, but there are different things when you're dealing with rental properties. So double check with them. Ask them on the front end, hey, I have a CO punch list from the township. Can you include this in your scope of work? Great. It just gets the whole thing out of the way, and then go behind them and make sure they didn't miss some of these things. And what I've been doing is stocking up on a lot of this stuff over the years of anti-tip brackets and different things that we'll go over in a second. So you may not see everything on the screen, so you'll see some images appear throughout the video, but top 4 things I will always say are missed, that are very common that are missed. One is the correct fire extinguisher. Contractors may run out, grab a fire extinguisher, but if they haven't done it several times over, it needs to be a 210 EBC fire extinguisher for the kitchen. One small detail which could cause a delay. Some towns break balls where they want to charge you another $50 for a reinspection over something this small. If you're experienced, they may let you get away with it, but it's a 210A BC fire extinguisher for the kitchen. Next one that I see is missed a lot is the 10-year smoke and 10-year carbon detectors. Some towns require a hardwired battery-operated 10-year smoke and carbon because there might have been a fire that broke out in this town. But primarily, the ones I've dealt with in New Jersey, 10-year smokes and carbons. Another little housekeeping item which drives me nuts that is missed is return handrails. So this is really on the carpenter or contractor that does the rental properties. They should be aware of this stuff, but just double check it, beat it in their head. Hey, any handrails going up, going down, even on the outside, they must have these lovely returns here. The elbow return. You'll lose sleep at night sometimes because these damn elbow returns were not done. So elbow return. Next one, another one that you'll lose sleep at. The anti-tip bracket, okay? As you can see, the reason why there's an anti-tip bracket installed on the back of the stove is because they don't want it to tip over. So if you're doing anything with HUD, if you have a HUD tenant, this overlaps with the HUD inspection as well as the CO inspection. 2 totally different inspections, but both require an anti-tip bracket so this doesn't occur and the baby, it falls over if they're playing with the oven, okay? This is the granddaddy of them all. So I created a list of the most common inspected items. Now, you're going to see this also appear on the screen because this is a little grainy here, but I'll roll through some of the things that are just really common, contractors should already do, but there could be a couple little tweaks in here which could be missed or not quoted on the front end. So be aware of asking for this list first from the township. I wouldn't do all these things unless the township requires it because some of this stuff's monotonous, but I've been dinged on not doing it, okay? So first thing, very basic. Remove debris on the inside and the outside of the property. No S, Sherlock. We're gonna do it. So easy number 1. So 2, Property must be graded and maintained to prevent erosion or soil or stagnant water. So what they want you to do is just put really dirt around the border perimeter of the foundation of the home, so that if it's graded properly with dirt, water runs out, doesn't run into the basement. This is really just a nice maintenance thing for your property, so water doesn't get inside of the basement. But I even do this preventatively without a CO inspection, but just make sure some towns will ask for it. Repair, replace sidewalk, walkways, steps, driveways to avoid trip hazards. Something already you should be looking at on the outside of the property. If you have a sidewalk, a walkway, if there's cracked concrete, make sure it can get filled in, or you have to rip it out and replace it. Cannot be a trip hazard. It's pretty much a standard one across the board. Next one is remove any high grass and weeds, easy guy. Repair, replace exterior exhaust vent covers, exhaust vents still not discharged upon. So this is anything where there used to be old piping, the exhaust that went out on the plumbing stacks. Double check those have to be okay. Any proper ventilation, all those should be checked by their contractor anyway. Any accessory structure like the garage fence walls must be maintained structurally and sound, in good repair standard. You should be doing that anyway. Remove sources of standing water. Swimming pool must be maintained and clean. This is more if you have a rental property that you're taking over with a swimming pool, make sure it's maintained and handled correctly. Any vehicles may not be in a state or major disarmed or disrepaired. That's number 10. 11, wood and metal surfaces must be protected from elements and free from decay, rust, or oxidation. I'm terrible at reading that. Oxidation. So you just have to make sure that these are properly maintained, they're not rusted. If they are, just cap it if there's anything like that. Repair and replace missing or broken siding or shingles, pretty much standard. You should obviously make sure everything's tight and tidy around the house. Scrape and reglaze windows, broken and repaired windows. I've ran into both of these things. So just make sure there's no chip paint around the windows. So chip out the windows around. That's like a housekeeping thing. And any glass that's broken, I would call a glass company to replace any broken glass. But this is like thinner stuff. Mind you, this is tedious crap that annoys me. So I've created checklists that my people will go through and double check this stuff. So my people, you're watching it, you know who you are. When you go through these properties, these are the things that we're going to go through as a reminder as well. These things has got to get knocked out and looked at. And to add to it, these are great refreshers for if you have your own staff or yourself to go back through these homes and say, you know what, these are the little things that I need done to maintain your home long-term, because you want this thing to be a long-term asset. So there's nothing wrong with going back to the basics and getting these things like looked at and maintained. So having a township that is pretty much tidy on these things, that means they care about their town and the structures inside of them. Another thing, so we got dwelling must have address numbers on it, and you can be visible from the street. If they're sticker numbers, if they're installed, I typically put them around the capping of the front door on the right side where the doorbell is. It's the perfect location. The foundation walls must be plumbed and free from open cracks and any breaks. It's really just making sure you're doing like the quickcrete and skimming it, make sure everything is nice and clean and smooth. Exterior walls shall be free of holes, breaks, loose, rotten materials. This could go on the flip side or the rental side. Structure member must be maintained free from deterioration. Roof and flashing must be free from defects. Gutters and downspouts must be in good repairs, free from obstructions, discharge in manners to create nuances. What I would say about gutters, just make sure they're clean, maintained. Downspouts, I would get an extender on it so their water doesn't come into the basement. They're like 20 bucks. They look like accordions. You just add it onto a gutter, downspout, and it just pushes the water further away from the house to prevent water in the basement. So that's like the biggest thing, is you don't want water in basements. Steps and stairs, decks, balconies, maintain structures sound and in good repair. Exterior and interior steps, no more than 4 risers and with graspable handrails that are returned. Guardrails are required with drops of 30 inches or more. Chimney, cooling stacks, maintain structurally and sound. Windows must open and close properly. They must be able to be held in the open position. This is extremely important, especially with the housing for the HUD. Make sure windows stay open. You can exit the windows. They're considered, egress. They can maintain the right order. If they can't, and they keep closing on you, and you can't go to a hardware store and repair it, just replace it. It's a lot easier to do, but this is something that's very important to get your CO. Doors must fit reasonably well in the frame, free from defects, and open and close easily. Number 31, if evidence of if insects or rodents infested, proof must be provided of proper extermination. We're going to keep going through this thing. Bedrooms have at least 2 means of egress, so one's a door, one's a window. Bathroom and toilets must be equipped with at least 1 window or approved for ventilation system discharge appropriately to the outdoors. This is a little more detailed from another township, but I would say some bathrooms, if they don't have windows, make sure there's proper exhaust or ventilation. Next one, clothes from a dryer exhaust shall be independently and operate on the systems. It's self-explanatory. Plumbing fixtures must be properly installed, maintained, sanitary, and free from defects. One thing I would say is some plumbing fixtures, if you have contractors that do kitchens, they want a P-trap so the water comes out of the sink and goes out properly. So these are little details. Some inspectors break stones on, others are cool about. So it's a matter of finding your way through each town. And after you do a couple of these, you'll be okay. But knowing that this is the craziest, most detailed, most extensive list possible. So it's not to scare you, it's just to let you know that these are the type of things that some towns will bring up. Another one, drainage of the roof and other drainage sources must be discharged. This is making sure water doesn't enter the basement. Heating supply must properly be installed, safe and working condition. Fuel burners, appliances, and equipment shall be clear of combustible material. Electrical equipment, the appliances, the wiring is properly installed and maintained. These are all mechanical things. You should have your subcontractors, your contractor verify. Approved smokes and carbons, they must be installed outside of each bedroom. Work completely on dwelling without obtaining proper permits. Required permits must be obtained and final inspections completed. Appliances must be plugged into grounded outlets. GFCI outlets required by kitchen sink. Utility sinks, bathrooms, sub-pumps, and exterior properly. Fire extinguishers required. No smaller than a 210 ABC. Came back, there you go. Mounted in the original hardware within 10 feet of the kitchen, on a wall to an escape route. No higher than 5 feet, 5 inches from the floor. Must be visible, not blocked by furniture or door. Extremely detailed, Jesus Christ. I'd have to read that about 5 times to get that right, just to install the damn thing. But that's a township, that's their specific language. Final thing, range anti-tip bracket must be installed, and range shall not be tilt forward. So, long and short, if you're not already sleeping or tuned me out, these are the most detailed rental CO list. Doesn't mean every town is like this. Some towns are crazy, but rule of thumb, get the list first, walk it with the contractor, make sure you know as clear as day in their scope of work, they are doing these things. Another one that just popped in my brain, and I didn't have this on the list, is closing up when you're going into the basement. Make sure that there is no easy access for a child to fall between the steps and the basement. So sometimes you have to either close them off completely or put a 2x4 or 1x that runs across to split the difference of the top of the stairs and the bottom of the steps. So something little that I just thought of too. But sorry for bending your brain on this thing. Hopefully there's some value here. Please feel free to like it, comment. I can answer any miscellaneous question. But again, this is something I think you should totally be aware of and is valuable to help scale your rental properties and getting things done and moved along the way.